What's going on, brother?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Good, man. Good.
I like the backdrop. That's a nice one.
Yeah, dude.
You see, you look professional too. You got your own backdrop there. That looks good.
Yeah, it's my little personal training gym. I'll have to send you some pics of it later or something. It's a good
I can
little
tell
setup.
everything's good. It sounds good, so we should be all right.
Cool.
Now, I swear I didn't. This isn't we didn't plan this as far as the backwards hats.
You got it, dude. It's
Bro,
just
I
the
never wear a backwards hat. I never wear a hat. Period. And I was trimming my hair, and my trimmer it died, so I was charging it. I took the guard off, and then I took a swipe at the back of my head once it was charged. Didn't realize the guard was off or whatever, and I like had a bald spot. Didn't even realize. So I'm rocking a hat this week. Stupid mistake. It's one of those space out moments where you're like, okay, I took the guard off and didn't realize, but it's all good. So how have you been, man? What have you been up to?
no complaints, man. A busy couple weeks with training and work and stuff like that. I'm like at the peak of all my training for the next couple weeks, and then I go into my like competition phase. And then the last few weeks of work have been crazy. Like I'm also a full-time firefighter, and in my little town, we've had three fires in like 6 days, and they've been they've been pretty brutal. So sleep has been low.
Well, okay, so there's so much to talk about, but
Yeah.
first thing, what's this upcoming like tour you're doing? Like you've got a bunch of stuff planned. You've got a powerlifting meet, you've got
Yeah.
a bodybuilding. I don't know if it's bodybuilding or physique, but
Yeah.
you've got a bodybuilding type show. You've got an Ironman. You've got I don't even you got other stuff. What's going on here? Let's talk
All
about
right. So literally the first one is in a week of powerlifting meet, but I rented a big van like RV type thing with the bed and stuff in it, and I'm doing a cross country road trip where I'm doing a different competition each weekend. So first weekend is powerlifting, second weekend is the Battle Bunker Regionals, which I qualify for. It's kind of like a hybrid athlete style competition with running and lifting and stuff like that. Pretty cool. Third one is a bodybuilding show, and then the fourth one is a full Ironman.
goodness gracious. Okay, so what federation is the powerlifting meet with?
USPA. I did the drug tested one though. I If I can do a drug tested thing, I always do. It's just not that it matters to anybody who is like, oh, you're on roids, you can mimic a drug test or whatever. You can beat a drug test. You can't please those guys at all.
Well, you're definitely not on roids, like I can tell.
Yeah,
I
too
mean,
skinny.
we look similar physique wise, so it's I can vouch for you as far as that goes because I mean you weigh 180 pounds.
Yeah, give or take a couple.
Okay, so how tall are you?
6 foot.
Okay. So you're 6 foot 180 roughly.
Yeah.
And have you always been kind of, at that around that weight, or did you like bulk up to that weight? Have you lost weight? What's kind of your history as far as that goes?
So going back, I started lifting when I was 16. I'm 26 now. Same thing as most people, sports and girls trying to do that, which is kind of crazy because this goes back to you, like our original conversation. My first, like when I was first getting into it, I was looking at YouTube videos and I found Nick Wright and then I found Pete Rubish deadlifting 1 million pounds on his YouTube channel, and then like Nick Bear, Max, tuning Christian Guzman, all those guys. I was watching all the YouTube stuff, Steve Cook, and really got into it when I tore my ACL my junior year of football. So I had like literally nothing to do besides train. I was deep into the YouTube. I was watching hours and hours a day, just trying to learn stuff. And I was probably like 165, like my junior year of high school, got up to like probably like a sloppy like 200, and then have been going back and forth, kind of like cutting, bulking, turning that um, bad weight into good weight. I've been at like 180 maintaining for like a year now, just trying to get better at different aspects of fitness, like endurance and cross training and stuff like that.
Okay. I mean, I feel like, even looking back a year ago, you really weren't on the radar at all. And then in the last couple of months, you've done all this crazy stuff to where your name is kind of starting to blow up. Because I've just seen the feats you've done, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, he's definitely probably literally in the top 10 most fit people in the world. I mean,
I
Just
don't
as
know.
far as the diversity of things you've done, that's what makes you unique, I think. Like Nick Bear, I would put in there too, right? Nick Bear like has killed it at everything he's freaking done. So people hate on him all the time. Like runners hate on him. They say he's too bulky or whatever, and people always say he's on roids and stuff. But I actually don't think he is anymore. I've kind of thought about this more, seen his blood work, all that sort of stuff. But he's done so much, and you're kind of mirroring that, you know,
Trying
like
to.
he's done.
Like, so I obviously everyone kind of wants to be like great at something, right? You know, I was originally, bodybuilding, powerlifting, and I would put in hours and hours, but like it's just like you needed some sort of like genetic potential to really push those boundaries, I think, because more isn't better for those things. You can't just be doing 3 hours of bodybuilding sessions or uh, 45 heavy sets of squats and expect to grow. You got to pull back a little bit. You got to have good structure. Sorry.
No, you're
Um, but when you try to do more than one thing at once, you can kind of get away with putting in more hours because they're different disciplines. So I was able to kind of find my niche with that. Like I can put in a certain amount of hours this week with strength, endurance, cross training, and I'll never be the best at any of those, but I can get pretty good at all of them, and it kind of covers that, you know, that whole niche. So
well. Let's just for those of you who don't, or for those who don't know much about you, let's hear some of the feats that you've accomplished. Where are you at? What have you done?
so I a couple weeks ago, which is the video you saw, I did the sub 5 minute mile, 500-pound squat challenge same day. Um, I did my first ever marathon in 3 hours and 34 seconds. Just missed that Boston qualifying time. Apparently, it's a tough course though, so people are telling me I could have got 250, 255 at other places. So that helps the ego a little bit. I did a sprint triathlon and a 500-pound squat in the same day. Um, I can do like 225 for 20 on bench. Run, sub 18-minute 5Ks, just a little bit of everything. I'm a pretty good swimmer. Just a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Well, what are your best numbers on the big three lifts too?
Big great. So this is all at 180. So like we'll just go that because back when I was more straight into powerlifting, like 200 pounds, I could get a little bit more. But right now, 345 on bench, 605 deadlift, and then 525 squat.
Goodness gracious. All right. See, that's what I'm talking about, though. That's why I was so impressed. I was like, how many people can lift those numbers and still be in ridiculous shape? Like, that's absurd. It's the combo.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't see it. I don't see that anywhere.
It's kind of crazy, man. Obviously I was telling you, I've been lifting for so long and, it takes time to build up those numbers. But then like I had I guess a good functional fitness base because when I got hired at the firehouse like 3.5 years ago, I started like doing more cross training on top of all the lifting and stuff. But I really started running in August, so less than a year ago. And it just came pretty naturally with like I guess the amount of fitness I've built up over the years. So I was able to maintain the strength. I haven't really gained any strength over the last year or so, but I've been able to build everything else while maintaining that.
Yeah, that's just such an incredible feat. I've been running now like 3.5 months. And, you said you're sitting at like a basically 59.5 VO2 max, correct?
Yeah. According to the Garmin, apparently it's pretty accurate, but I would love to get an actual test done one of these days.
Well, I thought about that too, as well as getting like the actual VO2 test. I mean, there's one here in Knoxville. It's like $100. But I've seen a lot of videos where people have like compared the Garmin watch statistics to the actual, and it's like dead on. Like there's been multiple videos about how accurate it is. So I tend to believe that just from what I've seen.
Yeah.
I think Nick Bears was like right on the money too, as far as his heart rate zones and everything.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that video too.
So it tends to be pretty accurate. And I would say, and I've looked at the calculations. If you're running a 456, 457 mile, whatever it was, that literally comes out to like exactly a 59.5 VO2 max. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I think it's accurate. I think I don't know. Do you use a chest strap heart rate monitor, or do you just go off the wrist?
So I double up. I use the Whoop, which is apparently like a lot better for like actual heart rate data, and then I double up with the Garmin Epics I got. So I feel like the heart rate the heart strap would be good too, but too much data can also be like a little over the top where you're just overthinking everything. You gotta go. I think it's good to go a little bit more natural. Like people get too bent out of shape for their zone 2 runs. I think they're like, oh, if my heart rate's above 144, I'm done. Just sometimes you just gotta go by feel.
Well, how different are the heart rate zones on the Whoop versus the Garmin? Is it pretty similar?
It's pretty similar. Like I would say like um the Whoop adjusts on the fly like a little bit quicker. So if you're doing like a short workout or like something where it's up and down bursts, the Whoop's going to be like a little bit more on the money, whereas the Garmin takes a little bit longer to adjust. But if it's over a long period of time, like if I do like a long run, it's going to be about equal.
Okay, see, that's what I've noticed. The Garmin, maybe there's like a 10-second delay, 15.
Yeah.
Um, that's interesting though. I mean, so what do you think is the toughest thing you've accomplished so far out of all the things you've done? Which one was the toughest?
The least amount of fun I've had was the marathon. So that was like I supplement company I work with is BPN, and they had their like team weekend that week because they're based out of Austin, the Austin Marathon, and we were there all week, and I couldn't hold back, so I was doing all crazy workouts leading up to it. Like I was doing heavy squats, heavy deadlifts. When I knew in my head I should have been resting for the race, so I went into the marathon basically unrested and unpeaked at that point. And apparently it's a really hard marathon. So I was grinding through it. Like the first 2 miles, I was like, this is going to be a battle because going in sub 3 was the goal the whole time. And mile 20, both hamstrings went. So I couldn't like lift my feet up too high, like barely a couple inches off the ground, or else I was going down. So that was like the biggest mental battle was those last 6 miles. Um, as far as like impressive feat, uh, the sub 500 pound squat is just it's so like rare. I think like people don't see that because you have to be pretty committed to strength training to reach a 500-pound squat, no matter who you are, and you have to be pretty committed to running to get to that sub 5. It's not something you can kind of just jump into.
Yeah, and I think from what I've found, you are one of three people who have done it. I know, and you could say Nick Bear is capable of it, but I don't. He hasn't done it in the same day. He's
Yeah,
done the sub 5 mile, and he's lifted that much on squat, but not in the same day. And I still consider him pretty much like the gold standard for the ultimate hybrid athlete.
yeah.
But it was you. You were the third guy. Fergus Crawley was number 2, and then number 1 was Adam Klink. Those are the ones that I've found.
Both those guys are absolute dogs.
Anybody who runs, bro,
Yeah.
anybody who runs a sub 5 minute mile is a dog. Like I don't. Holy hell! I mean, that's a 12-mile-an-hour sprint for 1,600 meters. Like that's insane. That's sprinting for a mile. Like I'm like,
It, it
what
puts
the heck?
it puts things in perspective though when you look at Kipchoge, how he ran
Oh my
his
god!
record marathon at like
Oh,
a 4:36 pace for 26 miles.
dude, hell no. And like anybody to put this into perspective, go out to a track and run at 12 miles an hour and see how far you can go. Like that
Oh,
is next level, especially because during half of the track run, so half the 200 meters of each lap, you're going to be running pretty much into the wind. It's
yeah,
brutal. And Klink did it at 215 body weight, which is insane.
dude, I've never even seen that weight in my life.
Like what?
It's
The
crazy.
guy go YouTube Adam Klink 5 minute mile, 215 pounds or 216 pounds, ridiculous. Which the interesting thing with him is, from what I could find, has he even done like a marathon or anything?
Dude, I don't think so. He did like Leadville last
That's
year.
what I mean.
I don't think he's ever done a marathon, which is crazy.
So this guy Adam Klink, he was the first guy. He started this challenge basically, and he did the 5 minute mile and the 500 pound squat. He said his best ever squat was like 550 high bar, and then he's never done like a half, never done a marathon 50. He goes right to a 100 mile run, Leadville 100, which is one of I'd say the tougher, probably quarter of 100 milers simply due to the altitude.
Yep.
Um, Brutal sections like Hope Pass and all that, but. I know he didn't quite get there. He would have done it at just the rhabdo thing. They pulled him at mile like 85.
It almost makes it more impressive that he tried like going through it with the rhabdo, and he's going back this year. So
Yeah, he'll do it this year.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind.
And he's a guy who's actually similar to you, where you guys are both almost low mileage runners. Like you told me, I think you're doing 25, 30 miles a week, and then you do a lot of cross training.
Yeah, so like I have this somebody's probably said it before, I'm sure, but I say it all the time: all fitness is good fitness, and it's transferable. Like obviously you need to develop the skill in each discipline. Like if you can't swim, just because you're a good runner doesn't mean you're going to be a good conditioned swimmer. But if you know how to swim and you know how to run, you cycle, you do this, you do that, you can take a little bit away from each discipline because they're going to help each other out. All of the aerobic and anaerobic training does contribute to each other. And it makes training more fun, in my opinion.
Well, what does a typical day look like for you as far as your training is concerned then?
So I'm generally 3.5 to 4 hours of training. Like I'll strength train for, hour and a half. I will do some sort of like zone 2 thing for about an hour. And then, so swimming, biking, running, and then I'll do like an hour of like higher intensity, like Metcon training or HIIT workouts. That can be split into like 1 or 2 workouts. And sometimes it's like, it's a long bike ride, 3 hours. So I'm just going to lift and then do a bike ride or a long run and lift. But generally I put in like 25, 30 hours of training a week right now.
Goodness. Okay. That's so like 3, 4 hours a day. Do you ever have rest days?
So not really, like unless like I haven't. Yeah, I know. So my like I get that all the time. I don't. I spread out the training styles and the muscle groups so that I feel like I'm doing like I feel good when I train that specific thing. I know everybody's like, what? It's just like I have like I think an addiction to training. It's pretty bad. But
you definitely
do. So I have like this TikTok series. Like by no means do I think I'm the fittest man in the world, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have like these sky high aspirations, right? So it's the TikTok series is called Training to Be the Fittest Man in the World. And I have done 286 days in a row documenting all my workouts. So it's all there.
I mean, I feel like, okay, like I said, okay, you're probably top 50, maybe. I don't know. I'd say top 50, you gotta be. I mean, the like I said, diversity of the feats is unparalleled. As not many people are doing that. See, I always take Sundays off. Like Sundays, I'm resting because I have a lot of emails and stuff that day, a lot of work. But I'm pretty much, other than that, 6 days a week, I'm doing something. Now I got to circle back though to the marathon thing. Like, so you're telling me you basically came into this race in a compromised state. You're not rested. You're not really peaked at all. You're just whatever, I'll do a marathon. No big deal. And you still ran 3 hours.
Yeah. Like, so the plan was to get to BPM and do like one workout like Wednesday with everybody, and then kind of take it easy. Just kind of like go through the motions. Do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. But Wednesday I trained with Adam Klink. We lifted it and we did like a tough like CrossFit Metcon. And then Thursday there were so many people there, and I'm a suck. I love that environment. So I was squatting and deadlifting, and I had no plans to do that. And then Friday was like they had a competition where it was like a team workout and then a push-up dead hang competition to win this Garmin watch. So we ended up doing like Adam was giving commands, and we ended up doing like slow up downs. I ended up doing like 120 or something push-ups, And then he's like, all right, that's enough. Like there was like 3 or 4 of us left because nobody was budging. And then we did dead hang challenge and I ended up winning that. So thank you, Garmin. They gave me the free watch. And then Saturday I did like a light kind of like full body thing to try and get loose at that point because I was like, dude, I'm pretty banged up. Then for the marathon, 2 miles in, I was like, Jesus Christ, what have I gotten myself into?
Well, hold on one sec. What was the dead hang time?
Dude, I could have stayed there all night. But I think it was only like 6 minutes or something. But like
only 6 minutes.
I was like,
Oh,
I was comfortable. I was comfortable.
I like how you said it's only 6 minutes, no big deal.
I was so glad they switched from push-ups because I was doing like closed grip before that. I was like cooked. So
Do you think you're a masochist?
oh what?
A masochist?
Maybe.
I mean, this is crazy. You're just like, yeah, 6 minutes dead hang. That's easy. I could have done 10. No, that's wild. Goodness gracious. So
Like I said, the plan was to be rested for the race because I really just wanted the sub 3 so bad. But I got suckered into like the environment of training because at the end of the day, we love training more than we love the accomplishments, right? That's what separates people from like that, like really go far in fitness and people who just do it for like the glamour of it, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with that. It's discipline in a sense. It's the feeling of accomplishment day in and day out
Yeah.
of getting something done, something productive. And with the marathon though, like, did you have a negative split, or were like the first few miles faster?
So I rode the entire way with the 3 hour pace group. So like,
oh, you just got right with them, and
so I was like I knew like mentally I wouldn't like fold at least and I didn't because I rode the whole way with the 3 hour pace group. So like ideally they finished like right under 3 hours because everyone wants that goal, right? So even though I was kind of dead, the last push I made it past the 3 hour pacer and I was like, oh, I'm golden. I just got to stay in front of him, right? He was a little slow though. So yeah, so like I might have been able to grind out like that 30 seconds over the course of the last few miles, but I thought I was good. And I was like, I don't want to like just bonk on mile 25. So I grinded it out and like I have the video of me finishing before the little guy with the flag. And I was like, oh, I got it. Nah. So
oh man, the pacer guy screwed it up for you.
yeah, and there was originally 2 of them, and the one dipped at mile 21, and I was like, what the hell's up with that? But it is what it is. There's always the next one. But my whole plan was to be like get one done, go to Boston next year, and then that would probably I don't know, maybe not run again.
Okay, well, what was your heart rate at during the race? Do you have the data on that? Like, what were
Yeah,
you?
I can just pull it up real quick.
I'm curious if you were what you were averaging roughly throughout that.
Yeah, so the thing was when I like stopped my watch, I was at like 26.5 miles because apparently that's pretty common in marathons to
Overshoot it a little.
overshoot it a little bit. All right, so it was like 20. So this is what my data says: 26.4 miles,
Okay.
3 hours and 5 seconds. So I started it before the thing and ended it as soon as I got there. So they say for a 3 hour, the math for a 3 hour marathon is 6:52. On my watch, it was 6:50. So that just proves that it was long and
Wow.
little extra distance. My heart rate for, let's say, average was 176. So I was pushing for a while.
How in the heck? Oh man, I'm just like, how do you get to a point where you're able to sustain such a high heart rate for that long? Do you just build up with tempo runs that are gradually longer? Do you aim for that heart rate zone in the tempo runs and then just try to keep building on that? Like, how does that work? Because, for someone who's ran around 170, I'm like, it's uncomfortable, but doable maybe for a few miles. But I can't imagine sustaining that for like 26 miles.
Yeah, so I think that might have been a little bit higher because it was like my first day with this watch. I think my whoop was like high 160s. Not That's still really high for that long of a race. But I think doing the cross training and like the higher intensity metcons really helps too, because you're pushing that 180 threshold and then going into the next thing. So I love doing metcons with like 400-meter or half-mile runs in between while doing functional fitness exercises. I love doing track work, and a lot of it's just mindset. I was just like eyes on the back of the 3 hour pacer for 25 miles, just like zoned out hard.
What was your nutrition like during the race? What were you drinking and eating?
So I think another thing is for having the background of bodybuilding, powerlifting, you're really good with the nutrition aspect of things. I think most runners are pretty terrible at that. Like we know how to eat.
Yeah.
So I eat like 100 carbs per hour. So I like the Cliff Blocks. I don't know if you've ever had those.
Oh God, those are good. Those are so
So good.
good,
Fruit
bro.
snacks, dude. Fruit snacks. So
Dude.
I had 2 packs of those per hour.
Okay.
So over 300 carbs during the race, which is like, I mean, it's 1,200 calories.
So, okay, hold on. I'm just trying to understand this. So you would have 2 packs of Cliff Blocks per hour, so basically 6 of them total,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And
that was for the race.
yeah, that's 100 grams per hour of carbs.
Mhm.
Okay. You're how the hell how are you able to eat when you're going 650, bro? Like,
Dude,
how does that work?
that is the hardest part of it. Like it helps like if you like have the pack pre-opened, but like I carry like a little like Nike fanny pack type thing, and that's when my heart rate, like it says like the peak was like
Yeah.
200, and I could tell that's when I was trying to get the nutrition in because it was going sky high trying to finagle this and get the food in, but
This is really interesting because yesterday I did a long like 7 miler, not that long, but I did that slower, and then later I did like a tempo run 5K. So it was like 10 miles, but I was smoked. I had no energy after the 7.5 miles, and I took a gel, and it's like 20 grams of carbs, and I'm like, I still feel you know
yeah.
empty. There's nothing in the tank. So then I got some Jolly Rancher like gummy fruit snacks and ate like 75 grams of carbs from those, and I felt like rocket fuel. So it came out to 100 grams of carbs total, and then I killed it on the tempo run. But
Yeah.
I was like, why am I having gels when I could just have candy and I feel just as amazing? And I feel better
Oh
because
yeah.
it's so many more carbs.
Carbs are carbs, dude. Like they're all gonna do the same thing. I know a lot of like triathletes do like just straight up fruit snacks, like heavy, like
That's what
just
these were.
yeah, like Mott's or whatever. Like they just my one buddy, he's a beast. He did a 255 marathon and then did a sub 11 Ironman in the same week, like
Okay.
back to back weekends. And that dude just has stacks of fruit snacks on him at all times.
This is good though, because it's just interesting that I did the 100 grams of carbs thing, and then you said you did that in the race, and that I was like, that was rocket fuel. So it makes sense. What about hydration? Like, was there a strategic plan as far as I'm going to drink every so often a certain amount?
Yeah, so I like daily I drink a minimum of 2 gallons per day. I it just I think I've always just like had like a, I don't know what the scientific term is, but you just need more water in general. And then with the training on top of that. So I water loaded and sodium loaded the day before because I don't like trying to like carry something or drink water like, consistently throughout the race. So I drank like 3 gallons the day before and God knows how many things of sodium, like electrolytes and sodium. So I have it written down somewhere, but like a copious amount. And then the morning of, I drank another half gallon and probably another 2,000 milligrams of sodium with electrolytes. And then I would stop at like every other station for like a quick 2 cups of water, one dump, one drink. And that
Okay.
was it. And then
So
during the race, I had a couple salt tabs too.
okay, makes sense. That's pretty reasonable. So you'd have You'd see the aid station or whatever. Was it every mile?
Yeah, they were like every mile or so. So I was going like every second one. Like I would get
Every
two
two.
cups.
So 13 total stations. You're doing, I'm going to slam a glass of water. Was it water or Gatorade?
They had water and then they had like some sort of electrolyte water too. Like I forget what it was, but they had something with sodium in it. So
That's the one you
I was
went with?
grabbing one and one usually.
Okay, so you would drink the electrolyte mix
Hmm.
and then you just throw a glass of water over your head, onto your
Yeah.
head.
And then like
Cool.
I could tell I was pretty high with the sodium at one point. So then it was like I because you that's the thing about doing like the aid stations. If you don't know exactly what they have, it can kind of mess you up a little bit. So then I think probably like mile 10 to 15, I went straight water.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of like that's something you have to like know how to feel. Like if you know you had too much sodium in your system, or if you don't have enough, that's all like by feel. It's kind of tough. It's tough to say.
That's really interesting. Now, on a typical day, are you pretty strict with your diet, or do you do kind of a mix where you're like, I'm eating this stuff, and then I'm also eating, some fun stuff. Like I'm gonna have maybe like me, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna have some chips and queso, some pie, cherry pie, whatever. And then the thing, like, do you count macros or anything like that?
I religiously eat the same foods every day. I'm
Why
that
am I not surprised, Jack?
dude.
Why am I not surprised?
So like, I'm a big believer in like setting like your macros. So basically, like I said, for like last year, I maintained right. So I've and then as the workload has increased, add calories in, but like the food stay the same. So I'm a big believer in setting your macros and then having 2 or 3 like set days that you can have a little bit of variation of what you eat. But generally, I like either protein in the morning or Kodiak protein pancakes. I know that's kind of like a typical answer, but I love those things, man. Because I love like some people say they don't like big carb heavy meals in the morning. I That's my favorite meal of the day. I love having a huge carb breakfast. So I do like protein pancakes in the morning with peanut butter, and then my three like main meals during the day are just 96.4 ground beef and rice. Um, and then snacks before and after workouts, I'll usually have 2 bagels at some point during the day. Um, a little bowl of cereal, that's like my fun food. Um, Obviously, like 2 scoops of protein and then like a protein bar. Like, so it's like 5,000 calories worth of food. So you could say like 4 total full whole meals and then like the 3 snacks I like to do before different training sessions.
Well, you got to tell us then what is the what cereals are you going with?
I usually go with something that's like 0 or like half gram of fat per serving because you don't need fat from cereal. I just use it for like quick carbs. So I like Pops um, or like a Special K or Frosted Flakes. But if you're asking me what my favorite cereal is, it's Cinnamon Toast Crunch, no doubt about it.
Okay, I was thinking, I'm like, you have to have at least some kind of like fun with the cereal, like Lucky Charms or something. I don't know.
Nah, I like Pops. They're all right. No, but like Cinnamon Toast Crunch is that's the best.
Is the cereal with milk?
Usually like a 1% or
Uh,
like a an almond milk. I don't see like you gotta have like those things where it's like you can't be like if you're doing it every day for a year at a time, you can't be like, oh, I can only have 12 ounces or 6 ounces of milk. You got to have like that little bit of separation from things.
How many grams of carbs, protein, fat do your macros come out to roughly?
I'm a lower fat guy. Like, I feel like fat just kind of like makes me a little sluggish, and people feel the opposite way about carbs. Somebody's gonna say like, "Oh, you're eating too many carbs." I like carbs before a workout, no matter what. And if it's longer than an hour, I like it during a workout. So I have like 800 grams of carbs a day, like 300 grams of protein, and like 70 grams of fat.
What was the protein?
300.
Okay. So almost double body weight.
Yeah.
Wow. When was the last cheat meal you had?
I started this mini cut, or I guess technically a real cut because of doing the bodybuilding, but uh, probably like 6 weeks ago, and I had a pizza and a half, like half dozen donuts, and like the biggest bowl of ice cream you ever seen. Dude, when I cheat,
Yeah, dude.
when I cheat, it's like 10,000 calories in a meal. Like
Yeah.
not in a day, like in a meal.
What, what did you have after the marathon?
After the marathon, well, because we were in Texas, I had like tacos at like three different places.
Okay, cool. I like that. That's good. Yeah, I mean, goodness, 6 weeks though, you haven't had a cheat meal?
Nah, nah. I'll do like a refeed day with like just extra carbs, but what it's so routine now. Like I don't mind beef and rice. When I have to get rid of the beef and go like ground turkey though, that's when it's like
Oh,
this shit's trash.
is that like 2 pounds of beef a day, roughly?
Yeah, yeah.
I've been doing a pound, but I do like 85, 15, I think.
Dude, I could eat ground beef forever. I mean, you can make it with pasta. You can have it with like your breakfast sandwiches. You can make burgers. You can make it with rice. I just think it's better than chicken as far as taste, and it
Oh yeah.
doesn't taste like rubber when you come out of the fridge in Tupperware.
Well, what's this? Do you put seasoning, marinade, sauce? What do you put on this?
Frank's buffalo sauce only.
Okay.
Because I'm like number one, it's super high in sodium, so I don't even worry about salting or anything like that. It just like makes things easier, you know. I know like I'm gonna put a crap ton of Franks on it, and it's gonna be good. So
Are you a caffeine guy at all? You do much caffeine?
I do pre-workout before my lifts, and then I'll usually have like a white monster during the day because I just think they taste good more than the caffeine. It's like just like a low calorie drink where that tastes good. I
No,
used to be a huge soda fiend. I'll show you pics. I was like a chubby kid growing up, like big,
can't believe it.
like dude, like I would pound sodas religiously.
See, I find that hard to believe now because you're just so regimented where it's like, where are
Yeah,
the weaknesses? I know, I mean, personally for me, I'm like, if I'm running, dude, I'm gonna eat. Like, I'm gonna eat some fun stuff. I'm gonna
yeah.
eat some pie. Like,
That is the beauty of endurance training. Like I know for a fact now that I could get away with such a more relaxed diet. It's just like so ingrained at this point, and it does make things a little bit easier as far as like calculations where you're like, oh, like if I'm losing weight from not eating enough, then I'll know to add like 50 grams of carbs in my food instead of being like, it just takes the guessing out of it when you're like so locked in on the diet.
no, I mean, that makes sense where your life is very routine. You do the same stuff, you train every day, it's
Yeah,
diet. It
dude.
makes it easier. That's
Mid
why you,
20s, single, no kids. I work at the firehouse and then I have my personal training gym and I don't do much else.
no, that's what you're passionate about. That's cool though. Like, what does your lifting training kind of look like? Is there a structure as far as I'm going to bench 2 days a week or whatever? Like, how does that look?
Yeah, so I base my like lifting schedule around the firehouse schedule. So like we work 24/72s. So you work a 24-hour shift and then you're off for 3 days. So that second day off, the opposite day of my shift, I'll always do legs to kind of space it out from the shift. So I'll do squats and sumo deads or squats and like stiff leg deads. Um, and then after I do my main movements, whatever it is, one or two strength movements, it's basically a lot of supersets and drop sets. I know that's not optimal for most people, but I think that an underrated aspect of fitness is muscular endurance, and you can get that from lifting weights. So I'll do a certain amount of strength and like hypertrophy work, and then I'll do like two or three supersets, drop sets, and just have fun getting the sweat. Like I like that feeling of being like dead.
Yeah.
um, so I'll deadlift like conventional once a week and sumo once a week because conventional is like more of a functional thing where it translates to like the CrossFit workouts or like the battle bunker. One of the events is deadlift 315 max, and obviously they're like no sumo. um, but I'll bench twice a week, and then shoulders and arms. Just fun bodybuilding stuff.
No, I gotta ask how, I mean, what's the comparison between your sumo and conventional? What are the numbers? What's the difference?
I did the 605 sumo. I could pull like 550 conventional. It's really not that much, like not too much of a difference because everybody comments like, "Oh, sumo doesn't count." I'm like, dude, if you can't pull a 500 conventional, I do not want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, you are very strong. You have the lifts to prove it, and it's pretty, really good numbers at your body weight. And with the meet coming up here, what goals do you have for the meet?
I want a 1400 total. Like I know it's not like world record setting, but I think it's decent enough where it's like a respectable number, especially with the other training. So like high fives, low six for deads, low fives for squat, and then low threes for bench.
Okay.
That just about gets you there. But putting it together for a meet is always something. And then just with all the other training. So I'm my own test dummy trying to figure out how to manage all these things. And it's, easy on the in and out days of training where you're like, you can have all the perfect scenarios, but like putting it together for competitions like the marathon, for example, it's all different.
No, I mean, it makes sense. It's a lot of things to kind of balance and manage. What about the Ironman? What are the goals? What's the goal there?
So originally I wanted to like really like push for like close to 10. Um, but about a month and a half ago, or like 2 months ago, probably not at this point, I had an IT band injury. So I didn't run for like a month and a half. Kind of set me back a little bit. So I think at the bare minimum, sub 12. I think I have sub 11 in me. And then if everything comes together, closer to 10. But putting it like doing all of that anytime you do something for the first time, you're subject to mistakes, errors, and stuff like that. Like we'll see what happens. And at that point, I'll just be happy to be done.
No, I get it. I mean, so we've got a 2.3 mile swim. What time frame do you think you're looking at for that?
So swimming is the only thing in my life that has come naturally to me. As far
Really?
as like physical stuff, like I could fat floats, dude. Like when I was a kid, I was like MVP of the swim team when I was 10 years old. But I thought I was going to the NBA, so I quit swimming when I was 12 years old. um, I did my last. I did swim 2 days ago, 45 minutes, like 3,000 yards training. So that's like 1.75 miles or something like that. Pretty easy. So I would say an hour ish
Okay.
for the swim, right around there, hour five, because it's you have the wetsuits. The wetsuits help you with the buoyancy, but then there's also like you're in open water, you're getting kicked in the face. So that's what everybody tells me. That's the horror stories of starting off the Ironman is getting punched and kicked and clawed, and they're like dragging you down. These endurance athletes, man, they're ruthless.
And there's probably a current. Like, where is the Ironman taking place?
Coeur d'Alene in Idaho.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Freaking,
so like
I've
really
always
cool.
wanted to go there.
It's actually in the lake, so I don't know if that's gonna be better or worse because you're not getting anything. I guess it's more neutral because you're not getting any help in or out. So
Wow. Okay, you're going to Coeur d'Alene, dude. That's amazing. Have you ever been there?
no, man, I'm excited, dude. It looks beautiful.
That is like on the bucket list for me as far as
Yeah,
places. So I think you picked a good one. If I were to do an Ironman, that'd probably be
yeah.
up there.
Apparently, it's a challenging one, of course.
Oh,
I
yeah, for
mean,
you. Yeah. No, you'll do it easy knowing you. But what about the bike? What are we? So the bike's 112 miles. Am I right on that?
yeah. So the one like the one thing out of all my training I probably haven't done enough is biking outside. Like I'm religiously on my trainer, doing all my workouts, but I probably haven't gotten enough time like outside in the saddle. Uh, and that's like another thing. It's like a comfort thing. So like the fitness is there to go fast, but you know, a good bike time is 5 hours. I
Okay.
would say 5.5 to 6 is the goal, but like we'll see what happens. I know my best part of the race is going to be the swimming and the running, which sucks because the biking takes up the most time.
The thing though, as far as using the trainer inside to get most of your mileage in, it's so much safer. I feel like it's sketchy almost to like do these long
Absolutely,
bikes now. Like somebody's gonna freaking hit you. Like you got to worry about traffic.
it's
That would
it's
be so hard.
it's safer and you get better workouts. It's more efficient. That's just a fact. But the race is outside, so you need that happy medium of you know training inside versus outside.
Well, what percentage of your bike training do you do inside versus outside, if you had to say?
I've done almost 90% of it inside.
Bro, I really don't think I think it's different than like training on the treadmill versus running
Yeah,
outside because that's a pretty big difference. But I just feel like from a safety standpoint, like if I were to do an Ironman, that's the same thing I would do. I would just bang it out on a trainer. Like I think you're gonna do fine, to be honest.
yeah.
Um, and then for the marathon portion, so you end the Ironman with a marathon. What's the goal there? What are we thinking?
Sub 3.5 is the goal, but like it all comes down to doing stuff for the first time. You never know what's going to be left in the tank because I'll be rested for this. Like there's not going to be like a marathon repeat. Like I'm going to be rested for this. Like probably the best my body's felt in a year as far as like energy wise. So I'm kind of excited to see what I can pull off for the run. But I think 3.5, which is like 8 minute mile, for that is doable.
You're actually going to take days off before this?
Just a couple.
Are you sure you can do that?
Well, I have to for the Ironman. I have to. I'm not gonna disrespect that.
Okay. What do you know? What was Nick Bear's Ironman time?
I think he was a little over maybe I think he was like 11 and a half or something like that. I don't think he was sub 11.
Because he did Ironman Florida. I think that's the only one he's done.
Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, okay, so you've got all this stuff planned. When is the last event on the sequence?
That is the Ironman, June 25th. So we are like 4 weeks out, honestly.
Oh my God, dude. So this is all like it's about to go down.
Yeah, so 1 week out, 1 week out from the powerlifting meet, 2 weeks out from Battle Bunker, 3 weeks out from the bodybuilding show, and then 4 weeks out from the Ironman.
Dude, that the powerlifting meet's gonna be a cakewalk. You're gonna be like,
As far as everything else, just because that's like I know what I'm getting myself into with that, and it's the first thing. Like I'm that and Battle Bunker, like the Battle Bunker workouts are like right up my alley. It's like perfect. It's a Murph style workout. So you got your weighted vest, you do a 1 mile run, and instead of pull ups, they're doing a push press with like 100 pound sandbag. So it's the mile run, 60 reps with the push press, 120 reps with regular push ups, and then 240 reps air squats, mile run. So that's event number one. Like I did like I've done like a mile with a weighted vest like 5:30 or something
yeah.
like, and then workout number two because like a lot of these people in this competition are more like endurance based, I would say, versus strength based. It's 185 max reps on bench and 315 max reps for conventional deadlifts. So if I don't win that part of it, I'll be disappointed in myself.
Um, is it touch and go deadlift or like dead stop?
I that's what I was trying to get details on. It looks like it's like you're gonna be able to just fucking balance that shit. So
We going for 50?
yeah, I'm gonna at least, and you can stop too for both, but you have 1 minute. So both of them have to be within 5 minutes, but you have 1 minute. You can rack the bench and then you can stop the deadlift. So I'm thinking I did training with the 185 and I did with the stop, I think like 37.
Okay.
So I think I did 25 and then I rested for 15 seconds and then banged out 12 more. Because I was playing around with the strategies. Like, do I want to like stop at like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, closer to failure, farther from failure? And then conventional deadlifts, I know I can do, 30 easily straight, but we'll see how many we can fit into and that's like more strict stop and go. So bouncing and fucking straps and stopping, we'll see.
So do both of these events take place in the same day, or is this?
Yeah, I think so. Those are the first two events, and I think they're, however, maybe an hour or so apart from each other. And then the last one is a last man standing. I don't know if it's continuous or if it's 400-meter repeats, but it's on a track. So every 400, they're getting rid of people, is what I've heard. I don't know if it's like we're running the entire time or if it's like like a sprint 400 and then stop and then start again.
Oh my gosh. All right. This is almost, oh my goodness gracious. Is everyone else doing all of these?
No, I think I oh wait, you mean those the
like,
three events?
well, yeah, like all three events.
Yeah. So
Oh
that's the
God.
competition. Like, so I think it's
All right. I was
I
like,
think it's a point system. Like, however, like you do in each event, and then that the winner. So it'll be cool. I think those workouts are perfect for me though, as far as like the balance. So
okay, man. Do you know how many people roughly will be in that one?
so I 15 people or no 21 people qualified. I think
Okay. Where's that taking place?
North Carolina.
Huh.
So
What
the
part?
first thing, the powerlifting meet, it's in Massachusetts.
Okay.
I'm in Jersey, so I'm going up, and then I'm swinging out towards Indy and Nashville. Where you at?
Knoxville, dude. All right there.
I'll stop by. Well, I'll tell you when I'll be
Yeah.
there.
No, for real. Okay, you're driving through Nashville, right?
Yeah.
And then you got to go east.
So yeah, then I'm going back towards North Carolina, and
Oh,
then down south to Florida to just to make it a cool trip, and then the third thing is in uh, Arizona, and then the Ironman is in Idaho. So up, west, east, south, west, north.
where in North Carolina?
West end. So I think it's like an hour from Charlotte or something like that.
I wonder if it's Asheville. It's got to be Asheville.
Good
Like
question.
it's I've driven through there. So yeah, you'll pass the interstate through Knoxville. I'm in Oak Ridge, so that's pretty close to Knoxville. So what week is that?
That competition's the 10th. So I'll probably be
So
passing like the 8th or something like that.
okay, yeah. So stop through because that'll be the 8th around there. Will be, let's see what day that is. I'll check it out too. Yeah, it's like a Thursday. Yeah. Stop by. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you'll be close enough. I can give you the address to the gym and all that and whatever. Just pop in. You don't have to stay long. Just
Oh
be
yeah.
cool to
Get a
meet you and all
run
that.
in.
What are the I mean, I'm sure knowing you that you've got something planned up your sleeve even after all this, like what are the future goals going to be? What are you thinking? What do you want to do?
So I definitely have to go back and do another marathon, get the Boston qualifying time. But now it's like, oh, sub three is not enough. So I gotta make a push for like low 250s or something like that.
Gosh.
um, and then I probably some sort of ultra race for that. Um,
How far?
I think you gotta do 100, right?
Yeah, you got to do 100. Which one are you looking at?
I don't know yet. Like that's like so. Like I want to get the sub three off the board first because that's still itching me at this point. And then this battle bunker thing. This is the regional. So if I do well at this, their like championship, which is like prize money and shit like that, is October, late October. So that would be on the board. And then I'm not that I enjoy CrossFit workouts, but I think some of the stuff is like a little like I feel like gymnastics movements and ollie lifting and like some of the calisthenic stuff is just not. I don't enjoy it, but I kind of want to get into CrossFit just to be like, because their whole thing is fittest man on earth. I don't
Uh,
know. So I'd love to qualify for the games at some point, even though I don't really like CrossFit itself. I
yeah,
love
you'd be
CrossFit
good.
workouts and the idea behind it, but I don't love all of the practices, I should say.
No, I think you do well though. You might as well see where you're at because that's more of a broader horizon. There's more people in that.
Right.
There's more money in that. Like, give it a
Yeah.
shot. See where you fall.
Hit up Adam, ask him to give me some coaching or something like that.
Yeah, for real. I mean, you've met all those guys, haven't you? Nick Bear and all of them.
Yeah. Very cool guys. Adam's a dog. Nick's a dog. It's crazy, man. It's crazy watching them do their thing. Nick, dude. When I met Nick, he was like 2 weeks out from his bodybuilding show, looking crazy. I'm just like,
Yeah.
he's a specimen for sure.
Are those the guys you kind of look up to? Who do you look up to? Like Nick
Uh,
and
yeah, like I like people that you could not so much like the business aspect of it. Like, the business is cool, but people will really put their all in training, like, and go to that dark place. Um, so yeah, Nick, Fergus is another one. Like he did the double Ironman. We were talking about Fergus earlier.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's done some really cool stuff. Like he did like a sub 12. He did a 1,200 pound powerlifting total and sub 12 Ironman in the same day. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, Hunter McIntyre, do you know him at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he like maybe not so much his personality, but like he's a beast.
I don't know much about him. I just know he's like the High Rocks champion
He
guy.
just won world championships yesterday.
What I got one of the guys from around here is over there right now competing in that. And he's like freaking he's a specimen too. He's just a beast. He's about 170, 75 pounds, just completely cut. Can do all the things similar, kind of similar.
Yeah,
What is like what makes Hunter so good at what he does? Like what's the difference in these guys?
dude, he's an anomaly, man. Because he's a big dude. Like he's like I think he might be. I think he's taller than us, like 6'1", 6'2", like 215, and he's running his. I think he ran like a 255 marathon on a whim. Did a sub 11 Ironman on a whim, and he does more of the obstacle course racing and high rocks. So like high rocks is a 1,000 or a 1 kilometer run, and then 8 functional exercises. So you got a 1 kilometer run, functional exercise, 1 kilometer run. So 1 kilometer run is what, like 6/10 of a mile or something close to that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's running those at like sub 6 splits and then going and crushing like the 600-pound sled for like 200 meters back and forth. And he's the biggest dude out there and he's lapping these guys. It's crazy.
Freaking unreal. Okay. I've heard of him. I don't know a ton about him, but that's pretty wild.
Yeah, he's a beast too. Like I just like more like back when I was younger, it was like just like people were like I guess more like just fitness famous, influencers. And then like I kind of really got out of that. Like, and I was just like, I want people and then Goggins is of course. I mean,
Yeah.
he's right there staring at me in my face, man. I can watch those videos all day, dude. Anybody who's just really like into training and like putting their all into it, it just inspires me.
Oh, that makes sense. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I gotta touch on like, do you take mini supplements every day, vitamins and such, anything like that?
Yeah, so now like before, I always tell people like uh I could just get away with just taking pre-workout, honestly. And like you don't even need pre-workout. You definitely don't need pre-workout. But like that's just kind of like my thing. But with BPN, like I get all of this the stuff. So you can eat your protein. You don't need protein powder. You can eat your veggies and your fruits. You don't need all of the vitamins and stuff like that. But it's all helpful and it's all convenient. The only thing you really need to take is creatine because nobody's getting enough of that from their diet, in my opinion. But now I take just because they're greens, reds, multivitamin, fish oil, and then pre-workout, creatine, protein, all good stuff. But you don't need any of it. You don't.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I know creatine is really the most useful thing from like really a strength standpoint as a natural lifter, an athlete. That's going to be the key. So I've
I
seen
always
people
tell
get
people
way
like
stronger.
that's the only thing you need to like pay money for. I mean, protein powder for most people they need because they're just not eating enough. And then pre-workout's just like it's helpful.
No, I totally get that. Now, another question I have like kind of random question. What advice would you give as far as how to get faster? What do you think?
Phew. I would say mix up your training, man. People like, and most people who are runners don't strength train. Most people are strictly strength trained, don't do any sort of like actual real cardio. They might hop on the treadmill and stuff like that. But all these things play into each other, and you're not going to be able to run 80 miles a week off the bat, right?
No.
And especially if you're doing tempo workouts and fast paced workouts. But you can get that high intensity stuff from a rower or an assault bike or swimming. So you're continuing to build that aerobic base and anaerobic base without literally destroying your legs off the bat. So I think that's what helped me is that I'm well versed in different areas of fitness that I didn't put all my time into running. Like there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's a simple saying, but like you can get your zone 2 training in from this and that, and then you can get your high intensity training from this and that. As long as you're working on the skill itself, you can put in extra hours with different types of exercise.
Okay. Yeah, it
As
makes sense.
I like as far as like more just like direct, get one long run in a week, one track workout in a week, and then 2 or 3 easy runs. And that doesn't have to be, 5, 6 miles off the jump, and your long run doesn't have to be double digits. When I started my running journey, like I said, it was literally in August. I was doing um, 3 3 mile runs, like easy pace, one track workout, and then my long run was 4 miles to start. And then you treat it the same way as you would treat progressive overload on powerlifting or bodybuilding or strength training or anything. You just slowly accumulate volume and intensity over time, and then you dial it back to peak, and then you start it up again. I think people make the whole process of progression way more complicated than it needs to be. At the end of the day, it's all under the same rules, right? Slow increase in volume and intensity over time will give you progression.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've noticed that myself. It's just a gradual process. There's no shortcuts. You have
Yeah.
to acclimate to more mileage and such. And I mean, so 75% of your runs, you're saying pretty slow, and then you have the one faster. Do you know roughly on the slow runs what your heart rate is, or do you not pay attention to that too much?
So again, I don't like do live or die by the heart rate zone 2 as some people do. I want my easy runs to always be below like 150. And some people are like, that's still too high. That's still too high. I'm like, yeah, but I usually do my runs as my last workout of the day or directly after something else. The only time I run first is if it's over like double digits or a track workout. Other than that, it's usually the last thing I do because I think it's helpful to run on tired legs.
Yeah,
You get used to running on tired legs, then you feel springy on race day, and you're just like, this is easy. Um,
makes sense.
so I try to keep it below 150, and my training runs are generally 730 to 750 pace. Tempo will be below 7. Track workouts, I'll try to go below 6 on like 400 or 800 repeats and stuff like that. Um, I need to start doing more fartleks, which are like when you add in like fast paced miles during longer runs. So you go like 2 miles at your easy pace and then 2 miles at like a race pace, and you do that for like 4 rounds or something like that. That's a good way to really get used to running faster. And then your long run, you can either just get the miles in at an easy pace, or you can try and push it closer to a race pace, depending on how you're feeling. But you can't do that every week.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I think that's all good advice. And that's kind of what I try to do too, where like the easy run, I aim for like 140, 145-ish, but it'll sometimes get up to 150. And it's like,
I would say as long as you're below 150, you're
yeah,
probably good. And especially like me and you, we're eating way more food than most people. So like your heart rate's just gonna be a little bit higher just from digesting food, just because your body's processing that. My heart rate's going down each day because I'm decreasing calories right now. So
okay.
I know for a fact I'm putting in the same amount of effort on the runs, but just because my heart rate is lower, I know it's the same intensity.
What's your resting heart rate? What does it say?
Like 41, 42.
It's about the same as me. That's where I've been.
Yeah, it's hard to get it below that.
Yeah.
You
No, Nick Fair said he was like 35.
my last like serious bodybuilding prep when I was eating like no food, I was mid 30s. So it might
Yeah.
go more over the next couple weeks, but I think the all the training and stuff like that, kind of you don't really have any true rest time unless you're sleeping.
No, and that's registered during sleep. But I have noticed the more intense you train, it's harder to get it that low. Like if you have a couple days off, I can get it into the upper 30s. But if I'm like
Oh
having a
yeah,
hard training day, it's like 42, 43.
yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that covers it. I mean, you got like a fascinating story. So
I
all
appreciate
this
it,
stuff
brother.
was
Dude,
crazy, brother.
like I said, man, watching your like the original YouTube video of you pulling that weight, like I'll never forget that. I was 16 years old. Like I'm like, dude, this dude's crazy, man. And then getting to talk to you, awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of on more of a parallel journey as far as, to you. So I relate and you're very good at all these things. So it's pretty cool because it's almost like I look up to what you've done now and I want to, maybe not do all the crazy things, but similar. I'm still gonna eat cherry pie and stuff, like stuff like that. No, I thanks for coming on, buddy. We'll do it again. And then, like I said, whenever, just message me whenever you're coming by, and
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely, brother. Have to.
it'll be probably 20 minutes outside of your way off the interstate, but you'll
Okay.
be right passing through.
I'm driving like 10,000 miles during the trip. I think I can make it work.
Yeah, yeah, you'll be good. Get a lift in or something. But all right, man. Appreciate
All right,
having
brother.
you, brother.
Appreciate you.
I'll see you.